Welcome back to another episode of Trap Talk, brought to you by Craigoff.
I've been with Craigoff a long time. My K80 smokes targets, singles, handicap, and double.
I will agree with that. They make a great product, very well balanced, and it's definitely worked for me and Ricky. Today, we've got a very exciting show for you. Jennifer Wilburn, she's a good friend of ours, and she's one of the only people that's been on the show that's been on the All-American team more than Ricky and shot longer than Ricky. So
yeah, she's older than me too, so I try to respect my elders.
Hey. So she's going to talk a little bit about her journey and some, hold points and other information that is going to be valuable for new shooters. So this is definitely going to be a great episode.
Yes, it is. Looking forward to it.
Before we get to the show, we do got to thank all of our awesome show sponsors that make this possible every day. Starting off with Winnig. They've supported me and Ricky for a very long time, and they make a fabulous product.
Yeah, winners shoot Winnig. I've been with them since about 2005, and I wouldn't be where I'm at without Winnig, so I really appreciate all the support. So get a hold of Bobby, Luke, or Bill on the phone at the shoot. They'll get you in to get you a custom stock made.
Remington, they've sponsored me personally for many years, and now they're sponsoring the show, and they make a great shell, the STS and the Nitro line. I've been smoking targets from coast to coast with these bad boys. Also, we have Game Masters 2. Our one and only Richard Marshall Jr. is there to service all of your gun needs.
Yeah, I can help you out. Give me an email, call, whatever. See me at the shoots. We got vendor buildings in Tucson, Ohio, and at Sparta. So get a hold of me or anybody else at the store, and we can help you out.
Yeah, I do like seeing you at the shoots, Rick, and the Tucson, and that kind of brings us to Tucson now. Another sponsor we have on is Shot Tracker for Season 2, and they are giving away a shot tracker at the Spring Grand, right, Rick? Is that correct?
Yep, we're going to give one away, and you got to be present to win, so show up to the Spring Grand. It's like having a coach on the end of your barrel. I can tell you, I've been with them since day one, and it really helps with doubles especially. You see in the graph of your transition from your first target to your second target.
So that's exciting, guys. Mark your calendars for the Spring Grand. We're going to do a live episode. We're going to give one of these bad boys away. Make sure you're there. That brings me to my next show sponsor. Shotguns West is our Pila sponsor. They're doing the glasses, and they've also agreed to join up and give a pair of Pilas away at the Spring Grand in addition. So not only can you win a shot tracker, but you can win a brand new set of Pilas. So that much more of a reason why you're going to want to go to the Spring Grand this year. Another new sponsor, Outlaw Engineering. Good friends with Ricky, longtime trap shooting family, right, Rick?
Yeah, Randy Freston II is the owner of Outlaw Engineering. His dad, Randy Freston, was past president of the ATA. They're from Utah. So get a hold of him at outlawengineering.com for all your engineering, survey, and development needs.
We've got a new show sponsor, White Flyer, America's Best. Rick, you know a little something about breaking white flyers, don't you?
Yeah, I've been smoking white flyers for years, and I was part of the development of the new Eco Flyer target that'll be available here in 24 or 25. They smoke great for an Eco Flyer. I mean, it is awesome. Really looking forward to that.
Also, we've got SOS Clays. We had Greg on the show. Did an episode. If you missed it, I would definitely listen to that episode. There's a lot of great valuable information. Rick, what's your experience with SOS?
You know, I've used SOS since they've come out, and I really love their app, and it's free also, but you can see scores live. That's what I love about it versus the old way of, wait until the end of the day till a score sheet's, printed up on the scoreboard. So it's just awesome. So get a hold of Greg at sosclays.com. It's the best shoot software out there.
One last familiar sponsor is Gun and Trophy Insurance. Ricky, you know a little bit about them, don't you?
I've been with Gun and Trophy. They've been a personal sponsor of mine for years. And get a hold of Cole or Larry Cushman over there. They can get you the best price for insurance on your firearms or your trophy animals. So we really appreciate them coming on the show.
With that being said, Trap Talk listeners, if you love everything about Trap Talk, please subscribe to our page. Also, throw some likes on the videos that you enjoy. It really means the world to us.
Yeah, comment on each episode. We read them. We respond to them. With that, let's get to the show.
never went when mom and dad went because they just dropped me off at grandma's when we lived in Illinois and went without me. So we go and I step out of the motorhome and I'm like, you've been leaving me at home while you're here? Because there was an entire one of the vending buildings was this arcade. It's where I met everybody. Yep. Like I still have friends today that I met in that building. So some of it's nostalgia, right?
Welcome to season 2 of Trap Talk.
Brought to you by Craig-Off.
Welcome to another episode of Trap Talk. I'm your host, Zach Jeanine. I'm here with my good friend and co-host, Richard Marshall Jr., and the lovely Jennifer Wilburn. Welcome to the show, Jennifer.
Thank you.
So we are excited about this episode. Jennifer is known as one of the greats in the lady category around the ATA. She's won just about everything there is to win. But for the people that might not know about her past, Rick, would you mind giving an introduction to her, please?
Yeah, absolutely. Welcome to the show, Jennifer. But I've known Jennifer since I started shooting in '88, and I think she'd already been shooting about 4 or 5 years since then. But so Jennifer's a 34-time ATA All-American, and that includes all the categories, sub-junior, junior, lady, all that. Correctly, Jennifer?
Yep.
Okay. So she shot, Texas, Florida, California, Louisiana. You've lived in all 4 of those states. So she's won championships in about all those states, or at least trophies. You're 15-time Florida captain of the Florida, is it ladies team, I guess?
Sub-junior, junior, lady.
Okay. So she's got captain positions in all the state team stuff. She was inducted to the 2022 Trapshooting Hall of Fame. Should have been the 2020 Hall of Fame, but they just kept moving it back. So she does have a Grand Slam. She has 100 from the 27, multiple 200s, and multiple hundreds in doubles. So Jennifer's been shooting a long time, so we're glad to have her on the show and get some of her knowledge on the lady side of things. So welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Well, we love that. Thanks for the introduction, Rick. I mean, she's got so much stuff. I mean, I was reading kind of some of these things and all the trophies that she had that I looked at the Trap and Field, the issue that they did for when she went into the Hall of Fame, and I'm like, I can't even read all these because there's like 3 pages and it's just boom, 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 boom. And like, you know, I'm used to winning 1 trophy every once in a while, and here she is, you know, cleaning the place out 15, 20 trophies at a time. So, I mean, that just shows that she's been around and been hitting them for a long time. So one question we want to know, Jennifer, how did you get started in this game that we love? You know, did you have a family member that started you? Did you just want to do it? I mean, what was the beginning?
So my dad had a high school friend that took him out when mom and dad were in college, and he just kind of fooled around with it a little bit and then went to Vietnam. And so my mom shot like meat shoots and Wednesday night stuff, fun stuff while he was overseas and while she was pregnant with me. And then when he came home, they kind of got into it and really started shooting in 72, 73. And so I was raised at the gun club. And then when we moved to Florida when I was 9 from Illinois, and Dad started letting me shoot practice regularly. And then at 11, he let me take off. And that was I won a trophy, and then that was the end of it. I was hooked.
Do you remember what you won?
I don't. But years later, I found out we went to the Orlando Gun Club, and I found out later that my dad had called the head and said, hey, because we were friends with the guy that ran the gun club, and said, this is Jennifer's first shoot. Can you put up a sub-junior trophy? I'll pay for it. And
buying you trophies. Gee.
But they said, no, we'll just put a sub-junior trophy and you don't have to pay for it. And I was the only one. And but because of that, a couple of other kids started shooting, and then they added sub-junior to the gun club's trophies after that. So
you remember, Jennifer, when we were kids, you went to a shoot. If you were sub-junior, it was usually sub-junior, junior together. It wasn't just the sub-junior category like it is now. I mean, it was, you got to shoot against the juniors, and that's how it was. So I know when I was a kid that way, I won a couple things, and it was like, the older kids were mad, and I'm like, well, I mean, you know,
right? Not my fault.
now they'd really be pissed.
Yes, sorry about you is what you say.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, hey, if that was going on right now, little Wyatt Debris would be beating up on all the juniors.
Oh,
I
he's
know,
just kicking them when they're down. They're like, oh man, we're worried about our ACT scores, and he's just beating the crap out of them.
You can't call him little.
No, he's taller than me now. He leaned up too. He's a big boy. I said, man, he's gonna be a handful. But back to Jennifer. So Pops helped get that situated, but then after you won the first one and you got tasted a little blood in the water, you started beating up on those subbies pretty aggressively then, huh?
Yeah, I liked it. And you know, for when I was started, there were maybe one or two other girls nationwide. So it was also fun to beat you guys.
Well, yeah, duh. It's always fun to win the whole shoot, right?
Right. I mean, you know.
So were you pretty, like you said, like right at 11, 12, did you like dive in and were shooting all over the country, or was it just local to start, or kind of like when did it take off?
So his mom and dad shot too, and my mom was very successful. We traveled to the Southern Zone and to the Grand American. We didn't, and maybe like the Georgia State shoot, we didn't travel a lot. And you know, back then there was like the Spring Grand and the Southern Grand. We didn't have all these other satellite grands. So people didn't really travel so much. We had the chain shoots in Florida like they had out west. And some of those shoots got pretty big that you could count, especially at the Silver Dollar. So we didn't travel as much. In the summer, we would go to a few of the Southern state shoots. So really especially for Florida, our year for like All-American team, it counted January through March. Those were our shoots. And then maybe the Southern Zone and one state shoot and the Grand. You really had to put it on them at the Grand to get enough credit because we didn't have points, right?
Yeah, we didn't have points back then.
No. So it was just, your fingers crossed you did enough because you just didn't know until they picked them. But, and so we were splitting time, me and Mom, and Dad did a lot of reloading for 3 people over the years.
Oh, yeah.
Because my mom was a practice fanatic. So we shot a lot of practice. I never shot as much as she did, but there was a challenge put on the line. Then you could get me out there. Like to beat her, I would go. Or a new pair of shoes. Or if somebody was running their mouth, then I would shoot practice. Well, you know, sometimes, you know.
Yeah, I mean, when you're trying to get better, you know, we've talked about practice on the show being very important. And also when there's other people around you that are really competitive, it like drives you to the range. So like what I found is, you know, you want to step up and you want to be a little bit more competitive and go there. So
shoot the first one and then loop to the second one and drive through it. Ugh. Just like that.
Great shot. Shot 2. Great shot.
We're just trying to help every shooter out there, no matter if you're an expert or a beginner, and this product will take your game to the next level.
Works for any of the disciplines. As long as it can find a clay in the image, it will figure out how it's moving and how that shot pattern is going.
Ugh. Now in that shot, I intentionally shot high, which is most people do.
What you did.
Yep. So outside the pattern. Now what's it say for the correction of that?
1 foot.
Yep, that'd be correct. Now in this one, I will smoke the target.
if people want to purchase this unit, what's the best way to do it? I mean, is it through your guys' website? Is there a phone number to call, or what's that situation?
Yeah, go to our website, takeintech.com, and an online store. We have inventory. We'll ship usually within 24 hours.
Huge thank you to Jim and Bob at Take Aim Tech for supporting Trap Talk. Since we're on the topic of practice, you've shot your whole life. Do you practice a lot now? And how has practice evolved and changed over the years?
So for me, once I had kids, that slowed way down. because we were always at their practice, running here, there, and everywhere, because especially the older two played all kinds of sports. So my practice changed to a couple weeks leading into a big shoot. I would go just mostly trying to get back in shape. And now it's, if I feel like I need to work on something, I'll go. Or if it's been a long time and I got to just kind of get back into shooting shape. So it's not as much as it used to be by far, but when I feel like I need it, and I don't shoot a whole lot of practice at a tournament unless I feel like something has slipped and I need to work on it, especially in the summer, because you're going, and you're shooting so much. Yeah. Especially if it's hot. Like in Iowa, I am not shooting practice unless it's necessary. Like Shelly Heitner likes to split one, so she and I will go and shoot a half each. That's about all I want to do,
We can't get Zach to Iowa. He's always got something coming up. He bails, and
that's such a good shoot.
Hey, some people got to work, Rick.
Really? Yeah. Yeah. Let's just get back. Call your wife and have her come. She'll be like, Zach's always messing around. Yep.
Yeah.
Now, where do you, Jennifer? What's your home club that you shoot at?
San Antonio Gun Club is kind of in the older part of San Antonio. I shoot a lot of practice there when I shoot practice. And then sometimes I go out to the National Shooting Complex where the Southwest Grand used to be.
Yep.
So if I just want to, like for doubles, there's always a trap set. So if I just want to go shoot a bunch just to kind of find my rhythm again, and I'll go out there because it's just easier because I can just walk out and do it. But at the older club, there's only one field that's usually set up for practice. So if anybody else is there and they don't want to shoot doubles, then it's a little difficult. But
is that at P.D. Parker's club? The one that he runs?
Yeah.
Yep.
So
I've taught there before, so.
Yeah. It's more of a
nice
ski club.
Yeah. Yeah, it is a nice, it's like the oldest club or something in San Antonio or Texas or.
Maybe. Well, yeah, for sure in San Antonio.
Yeah. It's a nice club though. I mean,
nice people. Yeah.
Yeah.
So if I'm hearing you correctly, practice was more based on if you were struggling, not like I'm just going to go out and practice. It's I'm having a trouble with handicap, I'm going to go work on that. I'm having a trouble with doubles, I'm going to go work on that. Or in the beginning it was a lot, but now that you've done it for so long, it was just here and there to fix problems, correct?
Yeah, more so. And now that the kids are older, like Charlie my middle one doesn't live too far away. And so he'll call me up and say, hey, can we go shoot? Because he likes to go with me. So we've started going a little more just because of that. And he thinks he can beat me. So.
Oh, really?
Well, he gonna learn today.
Charlie's talking smack now?
Yeah. Always. And my dad gave him his K80. So now he thinks he's hot stuff, right? So I go when he wants to go. But yeah, mostly it's to work on a specific thing or just kind of leading in a couple weeks before a tournament. It's not so much a constant thing.
So getting into your style a little bit, Jennifer, are you very similar to me and Rick where you're on the house and driving the target out? Are you up above the house holding, waiting for the target to come to you? Like as far as we get into hold points and logistics, what do you do in singles, doubles, and handicap, and what changes in between those games?
Singles, so I'm a one-eye shooter. So I'm down low. Probably lower than most people, I think, because I'm below the lid even. And then driving up. In doubles, it depends. If it's a real high set of doubles, I can come up off the roof and let that first bird come up. But for me, I get nervous if it's not a steady set of doubles.
Correct.
Then I come back down. But I can hold up on doubles if they're up. So are you shooting one eye because of preference, or is your left eye dominant, or? Left eye dominant. And my dad
Okay.
figured that out right away. Well, this, when you mount the gun and turn the head
Yeah.
sideways, it's kind of obvious. He tried to get me to
Yeah.
shoot left-handed, and I was really stubborn and wouldn't cooperate. So to do it again, knowing what I know, I would have shot left-handed.
Yeah, I mean, I guess, making the ATA Hall of Fame is kind of good, I guess. I mean, I don't know if
I
I'd
went
go
through
back
it,
and
I
change,
guess.
Jennifer, if you could do it twice. I mean, maybe it goes a different route, left-handed. That's all I'm saying. So
Well, I can
just
tell you,
gonna
I
put
couldn't
that
do
out
it
there.
now. Yeah.
Well, that's why we started Tyler left-handed, because first time he mounted a gun, he went, and I was like, oh no, because Trey did the same thing, but Trey's like, I'll just close an eye, and I was like, with Tyler, I'm like, no, you're shooting left-handed, and he put it up, and he's like, Dad, I can't do this. About after a week, he's like, oh, okay, this, So
I think, if you start it soon enough, then you don't know any better. My Charlie is
Yes.
left-handed, but he's right-eye dominant. And so as a little guy, my dad figured it out, and he just, even a toy gun, every time gave it to him on the right side. And he shoots
Yep.
right-handed, hunts right-handed, everything. So
Everything.
it can be done.
You just got to figure it out. And with your mom and dad, I mean, God, they've shot since the 70s.
Right.
So they know a little bit,
And I think, my learning curve at the beginning was a little shortened because they knew about gun fit and didn't give me real heavy shells. And Dad was really into the reloading, so I had a good reloader. And, now I think the learning curve for new shooters is shorter because we have pat traps and we have phono calls, so you don't have to get used to. You never know what you're going to get for a pull when you go out and that kind of thing. But for me, I had the gun fit and the ammo side kind of taken care of.
Hello, Trap Talk listeners. Today's episode is brought to you by Winning Custom Gun Stocks.
That being said, a custom gun stock is going to elevate your game to get the same fit every single time.
And I can attest to that. I broke hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of hundreds with my Winning Custom Gun Stock.
I haven't broke hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds, Rick, but I did break 100 from the 27 within 7 days of getting my stock and broke 2 more that year and loved it.
Here, this is
Okay, you would take it or me?
We'd like to thank Winning Custom Gun Stocks for supporting Trap Talk.
That being said, everyone knows.
Winners shoot winning.
Are we doing the end work?
And that's the one thing now with a lot of these new shooters and even experienced shooters I'm kind of running into that have shot a while, say that are new to the shooting game. I see in all of them shooting 1,200 feet a second shells for singles, thinking they're Nora. Remember Nora used to do that, And I'm like, no, you don't need it. I'll give them like an 1165 shooting dynamic, a light, and they shoot, they're like, oh yeah, that is a little less recoil. And I'm like, now just think of that shooting 300 targets a day, and you're
For 10
shooting
days.
5 of them.
Right. It adds up,
they're-
man.
Oh yeah. The
I
wear
think
and tear.
people really underestimate how important recoil absorption is. You start taking a beating from a gun, or just even just more felt, even if the gun fits you well. I mean, you're feeling that vibration of that louder explosion over and over and over again. I mean, I don't necessarily think my gun kicks me when I'm shooting nitros because it fits me very well, but I wouldn't shoot those at the 16-yard line either. I mean, you wouldn't want to put 2 nitros in. I will say this: I did run doubles. It was the last shoot of the shoot before. I ran out of light spares, and I had a broken pair that came out. And I looked over at Justin Debris, and he seen that I had the 2 gold ones loaded, and I winked at him. And when I lit those things off, I thought I was Ricky Marshall for once in my life.
Jennifer, it was another Zach Jeanine shoot. Tick, tick, little piece here, little piece there. Skeet.
No, I rolled straight up coal on those things, and I said, now I know how Ricky feels every day. And I said, it was just once, but I mean, I was just like Jennifer Wilburn on those doubles. I was just wham wham. But, so I wouldn't advise it, other than if you forget your light spares, to the audience listening. But I guess, Jennifer, what I'm curious is, you shoot very similar to me and Ricky. You're on the house, one eye, that's obviously different. Charging the target down, letting it break, and seeing it, catching it with your eye and attacking it. What do you think are the most valuable things for someone shooting that style? I mean, is it holding still? Is it, what are the things that you really think are important that the listeners need to know when they're trying that way of doing it?
Holding still. I think I have a bad habit of moving on the call, and I've gotten away with it in the handicap. I've always been aggressive. Maybe a little too much so for 16s, and you can see that when you look over time at what I've done, right? I mean, it's the truth. But I also think that's why I've been so successful in the handicap. It's helped me there.
Yeah.
But she's always said, you gotta see the target. You gotta see it, and even if it's just that little move, you're hurting yourself. You gotta hold that gun still and let that bird get out there. You have a lot more time than you think you do.
Yeah, and the voice calls have caused that anticipation.
Yeah.
I mean, you remember as kids when we were shooting, a human polar, you got one, you're like, oh man, this guy's slow, but just keep the gun still. Or just don't move to you. That's all you had to say. There was no movement. And I remember, and I've said this before, shooting with Leo and went from shooting somewhere where we had human polars to somewhere that had voice calls. I don't know if you remember them days.
That was,
and it was, you think it's bad? You'd be like, you're like, get on voice calls, pull. Oh, you're like, oh, wow, this is great. Go the next shoot. And it's a hand puller there. And you're like, pull. Ooh, ooh, ooh.
You don't realize, oh my God, it's terrible.
Oh, yeah. So you remember them days. Zach has no clue what we're talking about.
No, actually, I'm going to tell you something.
Yeah, listen.
I started shooting at the Metcalf Field Sports Park in San Jose, California, and it was owned and operated. It used to be the old Winchester Gun Club, and owned and operated by the county of San Jose. And for whatever reason, they had to employ X amount of employees there, so they did not believe in buying the voice calls because they had to have the employees anyway. So every field had an actual puller, and all the first targets I shot, practice, everything for the first few years were all 100% hand pull. And I think I honestly think that made a difference. I think it helped.
I think we were much more disciplined for sure.
And here's a little, looking at back in the day, there was a lot of great shooters that came out of that gun club that were winning locally, like not nationally great because they didn't travel, but like looking at that gun club in regard to the other gun clubs in the area, when we had our league shoots, most of the time the Metcalf shooters were outperforming at some level the other ones. Now there were some good shooters out of Sunnyvale also, but I think I think they went to the voice calls later, and I think it hurt the training there a little bit because I've always said if you could shoot on a hand pull, you could shoot on anything.
Well, on that vein, the place that we shot most of our practice was Skyway Gun Club in St. Pete. The background was really close. It was a really hard place to shoot, akin to Martinez. It didn't have the oil refinery in the background, but the trees were really close. You're laughing. That place was hard. But I think that club was open to shoot. We were better shooters when we practiced there because it was so tough. It really made you look at the target. And then they kind of closed and we started going to the Silver Dollar more, which I know people who don't live in Florida think the dollar is tough. And it is compared to a lot of places, but it was so much better than St. Pete that you didn't have to work as hard back in the day.
Yeah, I mean, you mentioned Martinez and that place. I mean, that hurts people. And you the cool thing about you, Jennifer, is you've been all over the country and lived in different places and shot so many different gun clubs that, there's some people that, maybe travel within one or two states of where they live and that's all they ever see. But to go see all of these different gun clubs, different terrains, different backgrounds, I mean, it really, I think, helps make you a more well-rounded shooter.
And it's fun too, and you guys know because you've been lots of places. You meet so many different people, which is nice too. And I'm kind
of shy, so I don't get to meet as many, but I'm trying.
We're both like speechless, Zach. What are you talking about?
Me and Ricky are the quiet ones that show up to the gun club. That and Rich
Yeah.
Bullard.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, it's getting bad because now it's like with me and Rich Bullard, and I mean, we're walking down and like people start walking the other way, and I'm like, man, that I take offense to that kind of thing. You know, it's
usually me.
Yeah, it's usually Ricky. He's like, I'm done with it. He keeps.
I had to shoot with them. I don't want to sit with them.
He keeps asking people if they would like to shoot post 4 in a squad, and I'm post 4 in a squad, and I don't know what that means, but I don't like it.
I can tell you where you don't want to be. You don't want to be on post 4 between John Halford and Ricky Marshall because they don't ever shut up.
John is always like, gag, gag, gag. We used to shoot together at Iowa, Zach. I always shot post 5, and Jennifer was on 4.
And it was like being in between two radios, huh, Jennifer? There was just one on AM and one on FM.
Yes.
Yeah, John's more of the 8-track style.
Well, hey, I'm glad I missed those days. It's all good.
They were good times. We had a lot of fun.
So Jennifer, and we've talked a little bit about, your style. We've talked a little bit about practice routine currently. We've talked about your accolades. How about like goal setting? Do you still do that? Do you write stuff down? I mean, when for me, like I look at things and I'm like, these are all these things I want to do, but you're already in the ATA Hall of Fame, right? You've already, been on the All-American team 34 times. So, what are you doing at this stage in the game to keep it fresh and to keep it exciting?
So I'm at the point where I feel like I need to do something about my singles. Because there are I have shot good singles. I can shoot good singles, right? Like I know that. It's in me, but it's been a while and it's frustrating.
Slow down.
And my mom won the clay target twice, so I cannot end my career and not have at least been in the hunt. When she did that.
You not won the ladies' clay target?
No, I've shot off for it once.
You shot off for it when? 2 years ago? 3 years ago?
No. Maybe 08.
Oh, God, yeah. So that'd be about right. Somewhere around there.
Yeah.
I was just coming into I was coming into my junior stride in 08. So I was I was hell on a sandwich back then.
We got to respect our elders, okay?
That's right. Oh,
this is the thing I like about Jennifer is she's one of the people that's like still young in the sport, but remembers when you were a kid because she started a little earlier than you. So she said, "Hey, I remember when Ricky was
each other. We all shot against each other then."
She's like, "I remember when Ricky was 14, and I want to hear about the Ricky Marshall at 14. What was he like?"
A punk.
I remember we were in Vandalia. It was before the Grand actually started. But you and Booker were in this big station wagon. I guess it was Booker's driving where the wagons. Driving where the wagons go in front of the vendors, where you're not supposed to be. I'm like, what are those two idiots doing? That's what
we was taking a cruise, Zach.
Looking for
He was
girls.
rolling in Daddy's station wagon, driving where he shouldn't be. Anybody could have known the road ahead after seeing that. They said, this guy's going to be trouble forever.
Oh, the good times.
The good old
days. Fun in Vandalia.
So that brings up something I want to touch on. Vandalia. You shot a lot of years there. What are your personal thoughts? And we don't need to get too political about it, but what was different about Vandalia versus the Grand at Sparta? What do you like about the new place, and what did you like about the old place?
Okay, so I wanted to start with the first time I went to Vandalia was after we moved to Florida. I never went when Mom and Dad went because they just dropped me off at Grandma's when we lived in Illinois and went without me. So we go, and I step out of the motorhome, and I'm like, you've been leaving me at home while you're here? Because there was one of the vending buildings was this arcade. It's where I met everybody. Yep. Like, I still have friends today that I met in that building. So some of it's nostalgia, right? One of the things I think that was better there, because everything was closer together, which is also a negative. You saw people. You were all right there together. When shoot-off started, everybody came out. They were all up there. You ran around, maybe with who you weren't supposed to, or stayed out later and you were supposed to, but everything was right there. And so for me, it was
Ricky
from
and Booker.
like 10 years, 10 years old to how old I was in 2005. Old. So it's hard to, it's like it's hard to compare to Sparta. What's nice in Sparta is your door doesn't touch your neighbor's awning when you go outside, and you can park. You can get in your car and go somewhere and have a
parking is nice.
You
We
remember
couldn't even park at our camper.
No, back in Vandalia, one year Jody and I used her parents' camper, and I had to get there, Zach, before the neighbor got there. Otherwise, it was too big to get in. And so we got it in. I got the, okay, we're good. No slide outs on it, But the neighbor came in and had a slide out. And I'm not kidding you. When you walked out of her mom and dad's camper, you put your hand on the neighbor's camper as you were walking out. That's how close it was.
Yeah, it was. That was bad. But
that might be a little close.
It's so many core memories. My first 100 in singles, my first 100 in doubles. Lots of friendships.
Yep.
A lot of memories. I can still. The smell of popcorn and diesel takes me straight to the Grand American, because when you would get there, that's what it smelled like to me. The old stale popcorn from the Hall of Fame building. And
maybe we need to get some popcorn and diesel and put it around the trees at Sparta.
That'll be good, Zach. All the trees will die.
I'll call Lynn Gibson. I got some ideas for Lynn, and I'm going to help the ATA out.
It ain't going to be with the trees growing.
No, they're dead.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, I understand. I only got the pleasure of going one time to Vandalia the very last year. I'm glad I did, and it was nostalgic. I think the things that I really like about Sparta, like you said, the space, the convenience of parking, and also I really like the uniform background and the trap side. I mean, it's like laser precision. You get to that bank, and those four houses are exactly the same. I mean, they really did build that place immaculately. I haven't personally been to another gun club that I think is as symmetrical as the Grand as far as laying out a big long trap line.
I will say everyone tries fair across the board.
Yeah.
That way.
I mean, there's not like areas where you could say, oh, well, I got this bank, so I'm going to beat your butt, and you got that bank, and you're going to it's pretty much they're all good.
You got to remember back in the Vandalia days, I mean, we shot a lot of the events right by the grandstand or in front of the grandstands, and that was because that's where the shoot-offs were. And I did that. We did that purposely just so you're there. And then you would, some guys would shoot all the way on the west end. Then they get over there and the background's totally different because on the west end you just had the runway, kind of out front. And it made a difference, but the background.
I want to note that in the podcast at 30 minutes, Ricky Marshall was paying attention and he was trying to get an advantage on the field of competition, ladies and gentlemen. He was winning. He's a win. He was like, I'm going to be out here anyway tonight. How do I get on them traps? And I mean, I got to give it to you. That's a good way to think.
Hey, you would put into pre-squad and some years you'd get it. And then some years, nope, you'd get whatever. We shot literally, I think I shot the Grand. Well, the year that I run the 700, that last year, I shot from bank. I broke my 100 down on I guess it'd been bank 4 or 5, but we shot all the way from all the way, or whatever it was. We shot all the way down 2 banks from the end on the west side to the last event I shot was all the way to the trees, on the east side. And I actually got the bank numbers from the trap that I broke the doubles and I broke my handicap on. And I went and asked one of the trap mechanics or the EC guys that year. I said, hey, when we're all done, what are you doing with that stuff? And he's like, what do you mean? I was like, can I, go get it? And he's like, yeah, we don't care. Just don't take anything that's cabled down. Because, a lot of the banners had cables on them. And they were like, none of that. I was like, okay. Dude, I watched a kid in one of them ones on the ground pick up the whole thing. It was spiked in, grab it, took off running.
You're rolling in there with your wire cutters, just freaking grabbing signs.
It's been Zach.
Yeah.
We do not condone that on this show. That's bad. We've never done anything like that before, so just remember that. You heard it here first.
It was good times in Vandalia, though. I miss a place like you, Jennifer. It was a lot of fun. You went to the beer tent, and it was just, you saw more people, Zach.
Yeah.
And, as you were there 1 year, but, we were there. Well, God, I was there from 88 was my first Grand. I missed the year that Nora won the doubles. And that's because I was 18 and my dad had quit paying for it. And he told me he wasn't paying and I didn't go. And I was like, I will never miss another Grand.
You figured that out quick. You said that ain't fun.
No.
I'm going.
You didn't have cell phones back then, Zach. So people were calling you on your home phone like, where you at?
Yeah.
I'm like, well, I'm at home. I can't afford to go. I'll be there next year. And they're like, whatever. So good times, but that's
1 year.
Now, how did you like? What's that?
1 year, we were shooting the champions down on the east end by the trees, and it was me and Debbie and Nora and Cece and Zaldi. And there at the high school was on the other side of the trees. Somebody was over there with a chainsaw cutting the trees, and it was really loud. So Nora goes over to the trees in between rounds, and she's going, hey, screaming into the trees. You know how she is. Can you stop that for like 15 minutes so we can finish? And they did. But just picturing her little tiny frame over there screaming into the trees. She's funny.
And that's another thing that was different back then, because I remember I shot the champions that year, and they always had the categories together.
Yeah.
So, now I think it's mixed up. Everybody kind of shoots with everybody. But back in the day, all the juniors were together. All the lady ones, ladies at the time, there wasn't lady 1, lady 2. There wasn't junior gold. It was just sub-junior, junior, lady, vet, and senior. It was their senior vet, and then open. But like when you went out there, it was a different feeling, because when I looked left and right, I'm like, I'm going to shoot off with these guys right now. Like it's right now. Go after it.
Back then, it was actually called the men's. It wasn't open. You could shoot in it if you won the singles, but that's what it was. It wasn't open, but because it was. I know 1 year at Sparta, one of the years that I did actually shoot my state shoot, I won the singles, and when we got there, I shot with all the other Nebraska shooters. They were like, "Hey, let's put a squad together," and I was like, "Oh, okay." Went in and they're like, "Oh yeah," and I'm like, "Oh man, we used to always shoot with, the
other men."
Yeah. Okay. So it was kind of interesting.
So Jennifer, you shared a. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you. That was my fault.
So much. That's okay. Until I got on with Debbie and Nora, and then that was okay. Because for me, they're like a safety zone. And I don't mean to insult other women, but it used to be you never knew what you were going to get. I shot with a woman who shot the trap house like 4 times. I mean, I have enough problems.
I think that happens on both sides. I mean, it happens when you get with really young shooters. It happens when you get with really older shooters. It happens. I mean, I'm shooting with Rich Bullard. He shoots a house or two every once in a while. I mean, we've seen him repaint those houses in Sparta. Just one day I hope maybe when I'm painting houses, people let me shoot on their squad.
In 2023 here, we have done 37 state shoots, 7 of the 11 satellite grants. And
we're almost there.
So most of them.
We now have, I think it's 241, 242 clubs across the country using our system.
If a club was wanting to use you, do you have like a base entry-level pricing or packages that you advertise, or is it based on the size of the shoots, Greg?
Our base level price is $0. Our complete package system, the whole enchilada, is 0.
0 is a good
It's a
price.
good price. It's good, yeah, it's a good
Well,
price.
the premium members do not pay a pre-squad fee ever.
Yeah.
For all year.
All year.
Can I buy a lifetime membership?
Absolutely.
Yeah, I was just gonna
Gotta
say.
be your first
yeah, is there a
I want to
5-year?
be number one. Zach,
We want lifetime memberships for me and Ricky.
you talk about that shooting the house. You remember the Top Gun shootout in San Antonio they used to do that Hal DuPont started, and then
I do.
It was just originally it was just for the men's team, and then they finally opened it up to everybody. So the one year they opened it up, I'm shooting with, because you went and shot the singles and the doubles, and then the handicap you always shot, they squatted you, under the lights. So Dave Kelly and I go over and we shoot and the singles, and we go to shoot the doubles. There's this young kid on there, and I can't remember his name. And he's like, going to shoot. I said, oh, you going to shoot the doubles? He goes, yeah. I said, well, we can all just shoot together. And he was like, okay.
No.
So we go over. Now, this kid is spot shooting. And twice in a row, he mounts the gun up and calls pull, and there's no target. He goes, boom. And I go, man, you smoked that one. He goes, I did.
It's like Mitchell Lovelace.
Yeah. And I started letting Dave Kelly's like, son, what are you doing over there? He goes, well, I spot shooting. And Dave goes,
Did
well,
they only do that one time, Rick, the categories?
What's that?
Did they only do the categories one time?
Down there in San Antonio. No, they did it for a while. But
Okay, good. Because I actually, one of my core memories and greatest accomplishments was actually winning that one time. And then going to dinner with some people and buying the dinner with the money that I won.
Nice.
And I didn't remember if it was that year. And that was
I
like the
was
one
invited.
time. That was the one time I bought dinner, folks, in my whole trap career. So, but
We get some Team Nanini dinners. Don't you worry, folks. We'll invite some of our Trap Talk listeners, and fans. Invite you to dinner. It'll be on Zach Nanini. Just tell them Team Nanini's taking care of this one.
clients and potential clients. That's it. I can't. Listen to me. If you're gonna feed a guy like Ricky Marshall, he better be a client. Me too.
I'm a client, so
Yeah, he's in. He's good. We got that. No problem. we like to eat. What can we say?
That's
but
right.
I want to get into a little bit more of your equipment. We talked about a lot of aspects of your game. We got your hold points. We got what you're doing as far as in your mental game. What are you doing equipment wise? Guns, choke shells, just a basic rundown.
Okay, so I'm my singles and handicap. I'm shooting my silver sights again. So it's a full choke. I don't have choke tubes. When you mic it, it's 34 thousandths. So Dean Newman says shooting behind me is like shooting behind the diesel bus on singles. Anyway.
You hit them hard.
Yeah, when I hit them and when I miss them. And then I'm shooting my K80 trap special on doubles, and I'm using the 2+ on the bottom barrel. And I think when you mic that, it mic'd out at like 21 thousandths. And then the 3 on the top barrel. And
now what's your barrel length?
30 inches. So I always I know a lot of people shoot them longer. When I first started, Mom and I shared an over and under, but at 14, my dad bought me a MX3 special with 30-inch barrels. I shot it a long time, and I was so successful with it that when I made a change, I just said, I don't care. I'm a little stubborn. I don't want 32s. I know what I can do. I want my 30s. And so I stuck with them.
Yeah, the 30. That's what I shoot.
Like 30s.
Yeah.
On my
off. I know. And I said, if Ricky Marshall shoots 30s, why should I shoot 32s?
All three of us shoot 30s. So
shoot 30
I think, yeah. I've always shot a 30. Always. Yep. My Perazzi was back in the day, Perazzi 29.5, right?
Yeah, that's
30.
Right.
But yeah, I did the 30-inch gun for over under always. The only time I ever shot a 32 was when I shot the Ludic bi-gun, and that didn't come in a 30, I don't think, because they only made like 12 of them, and I had one of them. So they're just like, not many people had a Ludic bi-gun, but by golly, I got that thing moving, and I hit some targets with it. But it was a little heavier than the Krieghoff.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
So you said sights and Krieghoff. Point of impact, is everything set up about the same, or is it
Pretty
all a little
close.
different?
I have 100% on the sights, and then it's right at 90 on the doubles.
Okay.
I had it set at 100, but I was missing first birds, so I just tweaked that one a little bit.
Just a scotch lower.
Yeah.
Oh, you roll into that target.
A little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah. We had somebody else on the show say that the other day, that they were moving on the call in the doubles. Who was that, Rick? Do you remember?
It wasn't me. I don't know.
It wasn't Ricky.
I do that occasionally, but yeah.
When I'm disciplined, I'm not.
Yeah.
But sometimes when I get antsy, I will. But when I'm calm, so I need a little margin there sometimes.
Yeah. And you're still shooting a pole trigger, aren't you?
Yeah. Three and a half. I try to stay in that range.
And I mean, if you were to guess, how many rounds do you think you've shot in your life? I mean, are you like a half a million or what?
I'm about 485.
I say, I looked, she's just under 500,000 registered.
That was a pretty good guess.
Well, because Dean and I was looking at it with Dean Newman when we were at Stockdale's at the Heartland Grand, because he was trying to decide when he was going to hit it, and I was like, well, I wonder how many I have. So I had looked. I know I'm getting.
I know. Like, we had Charlie Long on the show, and he's got like 1.25 million.
Right.
Hey, Charlie's a professional shotgun shooter, though. So
My God.
Like Ricky Marshall, that's one thing, but like Charlie makes holes. Like, he goes out there and he cranks out holes for these companies. When they need those holes to reload, they call Charlie.
Yeah.
He's just cranking them left and right. I mean, he loves to shoot, that guy. Just he won't stop.
Hello, Trap Talk listeners. Zach Jeanine here, and I'd like to thank our show sponsor, Remington. And today, I would like to go into what shells I use when I'm training and when I'm shooting tournaments. First of all, we start with the Gun Club. This is a great shell. I shoot an 11.45 ounce and 1/8, and this is what I shoot for singles and both shots of doubles. The only reason I don't shoot this in tournaments is because I like a little bit of a harder shot, a little bit of a harder break, but it works great, and it's the same speed as this STS shell. So this STS shell, a little bit harder shot, figure 8 wad column, smokes the targets a little bit harder. Also, I shoot for singles and doubles, both shots. And then when I go to the back fence and I want to put the smoke on them, I bring out the Nitro 27 ounce and 8, 7.5. It's a 1235 shell, blast the targets, works really well. I hope these shells work for you, and I want to thank Remington for supporting Trap Talk.
Yeah, he does.
I have a funny story about Charlie.
I'd love to hear it.
Okay, so we were at the National Shooting Complex shooting doubles, and so he shoots the first bird and flinches, and he says, God damn it. Shoots the second bird about that far off the ground and hits it. I'm like, you didn't just flinch, but you cussed in between shots and you still broke the pair. How does that happen?
That's funny.
Like, no reaction out of him. The rest of the squad was laughing.
I mean, he knows how to point a shotgun. I can say that. I mean, I've seen him break some big scores, and I haven't been able to watch him as many years as you guys have, but I mean, the guy knows what he's doing.
He's funny.
Yeah, just slightly he does,
Slightly. He got another Hall of Famer.
Quite a while.
So Jennifer, is there any other really good pieces of information that you would either give to, any category of shooter, ladies, new shooters, established, like your best advice for the day? I
think for newer shooters, you need a gun that fits, because you don't want to get kicked. I think that's the best way to have problems right quick. is to get beat up by your gun. You need a gun that fits. Don't shoot heavy shells because you don't need them.
Yep.
And I think those two things will get you a long way before you need, and make sure that you're not crossfiring, because you aren't going to hit anything if you're crossfiring, right?
Yeah,
As
exactly.
far as getting started.
Well, that's great advice. And you bring that crossfiring up, going back to your one eye, you close it. You only see through the rib. When you're making a move to the target, what'd you say?
I'm sorry. I use a dot.
Okay,
So
use a dot then. Okay.
Yeah.
Both eyes open.
Okay, so you have both eyes open, but you are a dotted shooter where you're covering.
Right. Because I couldn't close my left eye and keep my right eye open.
I see. I
mean, I can, but not well.
So in that scenario, how much would you say, when you're doing it right and you're breaking the scores, the big scores, would you say there's a relationship between the gun and the target? I mean, if you were to put it in percentage, how much of your eyes are actually just seeing bird and how much of the gun actually comes into play, being as you've got more of a focal point than like a true two-eye shooter?
I'm just looking at the target. I don't really.
She doesn't know. Yeah, you just see it and shoot it.
Yeah,
you lock on with your eye and pop it.
I make sure the beads are lined up, and then that's it. And then I'm looking at the target.
Because I've had a few one-eyed shooters, and I guess the big difference was they said they closed their eye, right? And they're like, man, when I close my eye, I'm looking right down that rib, and I really see it. And, I think in that scenario, it's probably harder to, at least at first when you're not comfortable, look only at the bird. I find more and more younger shooters, or newer shooters, I should say, kind of looking down the rib or using the rib or the beads as a pointing mechanism instead of looking at the target when they're in that one-eyed boat.
Right. So one of the things my dad always did was my comb, I'm off the rib. So when my beads are not figure-eighted, there's space. And so I've learned to shoot it that way.
Yeah.
And his idea was to get me off that rib so I can see better. So sometimes when people look down the rib, they're like, that's awful high.
Yeah,
you sure you
this
want
is
that?
about to take off.
Yeah. So that might be part of why I don't have that issue. And
well, hey, that's a good enough answer
too.
for me. I mean, you're up above the rib. If you're having space, then you really truly are looking all target, because if you come back and you look down, you're looking at that intersection area, which that's no man's land. Nobody wants to look there.
Right.
Well, Rick, is there anything else we're missing with Jennifer today? I mean, I know she's a wealth of knowledge. Any important questions that I didn't ask?
No, I think we're good. I mean, we covered about everything,
I wanted to tell the whole Proudest moment, though. I have two.
Okay, I'm ready.
We talked about that? Okay. So the first one is my 100 straight from 27.
Yeah.
Because I have not done anything like that. Like that feeling was amazing. Yep. And I got to do it with Larry Bumstead.
Oh, that's awesome.
I shot with him for a long time. He's been, Larry's Larry, right? So, yeah. But all of my major life happenings, he's been a part of. And so that was important. And the other one was when I won the Texas State shoot handicap. It had been a rough week. I wasn't shooting terrible, but I wasn't doing what I expected.
Yeah.
And I lost a shoot off on Saturday night, and I was like, this is ridiculous. You've got to pull your head out of your you-know-what. You've got to do something. Do something. Prove yourself, And I went out there Sunday, and I broke 99. And it was like I willed myself to do it when I didn't feel like I could. And sometimes you're not your best. You're not at your best, but you can make yourself do it.
Oh, absolutely.
And I felt like I was able to do it that day, and I was proud of that. So
where was that at? Was that Amarillo or
Antonio.
San Antonio?
Amarillo. I couldn't break a 99 in Amarillo if my life depended on it.
I did in 1994.
You know, I do want to circle back to that. You weren't shooting great at that week, like you said. You weren't in your prime, and you chose to shoot well. And I think a lot of people, you know, they get to that last day of that shoot, and they're already thinking about loading up their trailer, loading up their camper, getting out of there. But you've got to fight tooth and nail for every single event. And I got to give credit where credit is due to the master, Ricky. You know, he always tells me, Zach, why are you flying out on Sunday night, or why did you get a hotel for Monday? And I'm like, well, Ricky, I'm going to go home. And he's like, well, yeah, but I'm staying for the shoot-off. And I'm like, well, you don't even know if you're going to be off shoot-off. And he's like, yeah, I am. I'm going to be in a shoot-off. And it's just the mindset of, you know, preparing to say the shoot is not over until the shoot is over. And you could go and shoot your state shoot all week long and be in the dumps. Wake up Sunday, you know, put your game face on and say, I'm going to get this done, focus, and win a championship. And at the end of that week, now you're going to tell everyone, well, I had the greatest week ever. Well, you're not even going to think about those 11 other events that you were in the tank. Like, you're not going to think about, you know, those 82s that you shot that week, right? It's just, you know, it's
what are you saying, Zach? She could have broke 92s. You don't know. You throw out 82.
I was speaking to my own shooting, Richard. I wasn't speaking to Jennifer's. Obviously,
I thought you were talking. I thought you were talking about Rich Bullard for a minute or something.
Oh, that's
ouch.
We got to keep these digs down. We're spicy today, everyone.
Oh, we love him. Hey, I'll see him next week. I'll be in Reno. We're going to dinner, so I'll have to give him some digs for it.
Give him some love. Well, Jennifer, you know, you're a wealth of knowledge. I know both the men, the women, everyone's going to want to listen to this episode and hear, you know, what you have to offer to the sport. And I'm sure we'll be able to have you on in the future again. Thanks for doing this. Is there anybody that you'd like to thank, or any other parting thoughts?
My mom and dad, honestly, because without them and their support, I wouldn't be here, especially with the kids. I mean, my mom has chased those kids across this United States while I was shooting. So.
That's good.
You know, Stacy Rehor. Stacy Rehor asked me once, how did you do it with 3 after she had the first one? I said, I didn't. My mom did it.
Yeah.
So,
you had to call
she was there. I didn't worry about it. Yeah, mom just, whatever. It kept her young. What?
I said you had to call in the pinch hitter on that one. You're like, hey, to the bullpen.
Sometimes. I know down here at the Southwest Grand, I had Delaney, the older 2 were in school. I had the baby in the stroller with a movie player, and I parked her behind every trap and shot. But
well, Jennifer, thank you so much for making the time and sharing your knowledge and your history with all of the listeners. We want to thank our show sponsors. We've got Remington, Winnig, Shot Tracker, RM Shooting Clinics. Hey, Ricky, you've been busy lately, have you not?
I have been busy.
So I gotta let you know, Ricky's going around. He's got a lot of people calling. He's doing a great job, and I'm hearing good feedback. So if you're needing some help, Ricky's helping some serious people across the country, left and right. So thanks for that, Ricky. And and if you do need a money guy, Zach Jeanine's here to help you. I love you guys listening. We love the fans. We love everybody that comes in and does this for us and shares their knowledge and their history of the game. And we're going to see you again next Friday. So thank you all.
Thanks.
And the Trap Talk podcast is brought to you in part by
RM Shooting Clinics. Have Ricky take your game to the next level. If you want to shoot hundreds, give Ricky a call today. Zach Jeanine Financial. We believe in putting people first.